Good morning. It's Thursday, April 2nd, 2015. This is Tech Talk Today, episode 152. Wow. And we got some stuff to cover today, so to help me cover that stuff that we should be covering today is the Mumble Room that is assembled today. Time-appropriate greetings today, Mumble Room.
Hello.
Time-appropriate greetings. Hello.
Hey, guys. So let's start with one of my favorite old soapboxes is what the world really needs is just a little competition. Everything's just right. Pretty much in every product category in technology these days, right? I mean, you look at smartphones, you look at computers, laptops, whatever, watches, and we all know it, ISPs. And, of course, that's where we need the competition the most. And, of course, we don't have it, and so we end up with things like net neutrality. Comcast, however, proving this point with, just sprinkles on top, is leapfrogging Google Fiber in the areas where Google Fiber has been deployed, and Comcast is announcing 2 gigabit internet service. Rollout begins in Atlanta next month and will reach 18 million American homes by the end of the year. 2 gigabit internet service. It's almost like Google put a little bit of fear of life into Comcast, and it's interesting once you get a little competition in the area, how all of a sudden they can go from offering you 20 megabits to 2 gigabits. Some of the areas these are going in, their top plans right now are 20 megabits. And somehow, Comcast can be able to turn that into 2 gigabits. Isn't competition, isn't that just grand? It's just a thing, isn't it? You have to be within pretty close proximity of Comcast fiber network and accept the installation of professional-grade equipment, they say. That's interesting. I'd like to get that because, as this becomes more popular, if you've ever gotten in on a new type of connectivity when it comes into your area, so I've had the pleasure of doing that for both DSL, cable, and Fios, and the initial rollouts, and I'm always the first guy in the neighborhood to get it, of course, and the initial rollouts are always the biggest, bulkiest, heavy-duty equipment you can possibly imagine. Stuff that would go into businesses, not stuff that goes into the home. And then over time, they refine it, and they make it more consumerized and more productized and smaller and svelter and better for the home. But the reality is these bigger, bulkier units are usually way cooler. They can handle way more load. They maybe have Ethernet ports and serial ports that on there that a business would need. They generally are way better equipment. So if you get in early, you usually get better stuff. But Comcast plans to extend to other cities beyond Atlanta and will cover as many as 18 million American homes by the end of 2015. For much broader gigabit coverage, the company also says it's working on a 1 gigabit service to match the speed of Google Fiber for 2016, which it says it should be able to connect almost every customer within our footprint. Ooh. Isn't it interesting when they're talking about this, Comcast is also just outwardly mentioning Google? That's interesting, I think. What do you think, Mumble?
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome when you can get 1 gig speed to that much quicker get to your data cap.
Yeah. Oh, but no kidding, right? Yeah. No kidding. No, they must be rolling off the caps on that, and they've got to. It is so critical because everything's gonna be IP traffic. Every phone call, everything you watch, everything's gonna go over IP. It is the best way to measure and guarantee delivery, and it's broadcast is great. Broadcast has tons of bandwidth, but broadcast can't measure and guarantee delivery. So everything we do is eventually going to go IP-based. And so data caps are going to be ridiculous because what we consider to be a lot of data transfer today is going to be quaint. It's going to be so we'll remember a time where we only use 2 gigabytes a month on our phones, and it'll be like when we had 30 megabyte hard drives. My very first hard drive that I ever had was 20 megabytes. Big, loud external thing, 20 megabytes, and that was gluttony because I was used to 800 kilobyte floppies. And so a 20 megabyte hard drive was gluttony. But we will now look back at 2 gigabytes a month on our cell phone plans and on our and 250 gigabyte caps on our homes, and we will laugh at that because we will have devices that are constantly generating internet connectivity. Everything from your toaster to your Hughes lights is going to be generating IP traffic that goes out over the internet. All of your stuff is going to be streaming. All of your devices are going to be downloading software updates. Software only keeps getting bigger and bigger. Content only keeps getting richer. 4K is just around the corner. These things are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger to the today where we make these numbers look ridiculously quaint. And so if they're rolling out 2 gigabit service, they're going to have to remove the caps. And I wonder how long they can maintain caps on other services when they themselves will have to acknowledge that caps don't make sense in a higher capacity scenario, which is a direction we're all going anyways.
Yeah, in the UK, a lot of the ISPs have a mixed thing, so where you could buy a cap one or don't buy a cap one, and actually a lot of people would actually look for one without a cap because it just seems better because you don't get moaned at about using too much.
So you have like hold on, I'm not quite clear on how this works. So you have a choice between ISPs?
Yeah.
Oh.
well, basically they basically run off of one internal infrastructure, but
yeah,
you can buy off of the biggest infrastructure. There are multiple ISPs.
Or you can actually compare prices and deals.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, there are two ISPs in my area. They're just both horrible. One is Verizon and one is Comcast, and so and really they're not comparable.
I wonder what Comcast modem rental prices will go up to after this.
Oh, interesting. You know, there is another reason for Comcast to do this. Remember the story we talked about a long time ago, and now we've all seen it. Comcast has turned on that Wi-Fi on the modems. And Comcast, rumor has it, that Comcast's long-term plan is to maybe build out like a cellular network that's powered by ubiquitous Wi-Fi coverage. And that sounds almost impossible until you think about, well, there's a lot of Comcast modems in the United States of America. I mean, and there's about to be a lot more if that merger goes through. And then you could MVNO the coverage gaps with like a T-Mobile MVNO to fill in the gaps. But you have everybody use Wi-Fi whenever they're near one of these Comcast Wi-Fi routers or when they're at home, which is where I make predominantly a lot of my calls, except for when I'm driving. So that, again, they'd have to be able to fill in MVNO style gaps. But then if they did something like this, they would need a hell of a lot more bandwidth if you got a lot more people on there. You would really have to essentially upgrade your infrastructure. When they install cell phone towers, and I didn't know this until I had a client that was way out in the boondocks and really had nothing but DSL, just really crappy DSL. And they just totally didn't work for them because they're manufacturing solar panels and they just, they can't be a new generation company with no connectivity. And so there was a cellular tower that was about a mile down the street or something like that. And when the cell phone companies put in these cellular towers, they haul in fiber, and these cellular towers are like data center level connectivity. These cellular towers have so much bandwidth coming to them. When you see a cellular tower, you are seeing a beacon of bandwidth. It is so sexy how much bandwidth is coming into these things, and there's so much bandwidth right now that the cellular companies will peel parts of the fiber off and sell it to the local businesses around the cellular tower that are way out in the boondocks. And so this client of mine ended up getting high-speed fiber connectivity, not just to the internet, but between all four of their buildings by taking fiber from the cellular company and using their extra bandwidth. So the cellular towers are good to go, but you have to remember, of course, you've got 200 people that could be using a tower at any given time, so that bandwidth is totally split up. And then because of the nature of cellular transmissions, it's extremely excessively chatty, so that also has a ton of overhead. But the idea would be that you have to lay in this massive amounts of bandwidth even to be able to sustain a few hundred people. So if Comcast is going to roll out a Wi-Fi-wide, nationwide cellular network, the Comcast mobile, part of your Comcast package, you get your Comcast TV, your Comcast alarm service, you get your Comcast phone service that includes phone, internet, and this mobile service. This could be like this Comcast Xfinity package that is powered by all of these Wi-Fi hotspots that have gigabit coming into their modems. And even if Joe, Ma, Pa, and Kettle are not going to be using a gigabit of bandwidth to watch House of Cards in 4K, the person that's next to them that's jumping on their wireless network is going to be taking advantage of that, even when Ma and Pa Kettle don't know it. It could be Comcast's brave new world, and they're doing it in these slow incremental phases, and this big merger they want to do could be part of that. The new brave Comcast world. And in the meantime, while you're thinking about that, Ford's thinking about cars that can have apps. Ford is trying out something probably a little bit, some say, inspired by Tesla. In what they say, according to BuzzFeed, is a race to define the future of transportation. How do you like this term? Legacy car manufacturers. So I guess if you're anything but Tesla now, you're a legacy car manufacturer. Maybe I don't disagree, maybe I do, but I just think it's fun how the press just goes with that kind of stuff. So legacy car manufacturers are increasingly facing off against new rivals Of course, not birthed by the automotive industry, but by the technology industry. The disruption brought by the fresh-faced players like Tesla, Google, Uber, and Lyft is forcing them to think like startups and embrace new ideas like autonomous vehicles and ride-sharing. Among the old-school car companies grappling with this shift is Ford, which is looking to develop innovative and advanced vehicles that are available to everyone. Ford CEO Mark Fields said Tuesday that Tesla is endemic of how startups think. Ahead of the New York International Auto Show, he continued to say, "We are really encouraging everyone in our company to think like a startup. We want people to challenge customs and question tradition. We want them not to take anything for granted. We want them to ride the technology curve where it makes sense, and we want them to think from a customer experience standpoint. We want them to move fast and test, and we want them to take appropriate risks." Shouldn't they have been doing that all along? Like the entire time?
Well, their idea of being technology or technologically advanced is being like, a 40 gig hard drive in entertainment system in your car. So it's like, really? You guys want to try to catch up a little bit here?
Yeah. Hey guys, I want you to be so appropriately risky that it is completely, legitimately understandable. All right, let's move on. So we talk about smartphones all the time. How can this be possible? I do not believe this new report, but here it is. This is, and I'll have it linked. A new Pew Internet survey says that the U.S. has a survey of U.S. smartphone use and also the amount of internet penetration in the U.S. Nearly 2/3 of Americans own a smartphone, and 19% of Americans rely on some degree on a smartphone for accessing online services and information and for staying connected to the world around them. But get this. 10% of Americans own a smartphone, but do not have broadband at home. And 15% own a smartphone, but say they have a limited number of options for going online other than their cell phone. 15% of Americans. 15% say that they have limited options for going online except for their effing phone. 15%. That's amazing. Amazingly bad. Also, those with relatively low income and educational attainment levels, younger adults, and non-whites are especially likely to be smartphone dependent. Smartphones are widely used for navigating numerous important life activities. Oh, this is just kind of demeaning. Of course they are. Indeed, 7% of Americans own a smartphone, but have neither traditional broadband service at home nor easily available alternatives for going online other than their cell phone. So there's a lot of different numbers bounced around here, but nearly 2/3 of Americans are now smartphone owners, and for many of these devices, they're key entry points to how they get online. I think that's the key stat. 64% of American adults now own a smartphone of some kind. 64%, up from 35% in the spring of 2011. So since spring of 2011, we've gone from 35% to 64%.
Makes sense.
7% of Americans are heavily dependent. So basically, they have no other means than their cell phone to get online. That's almost 10% of the American population.
The survey
population. It's 7%.
And then you get up
survey of the 60%.
Right. Yes. Right. And then you get up to 15% for they pretty much have no other option other than their cell phone, but every now and then they have another option. So it's really more like 15%.
That's really sad.
Well, they must live really far out, though. I mean, to be that bad.
Or they're very poor. And, honestly, there's some people that have to make a decision between $60 a month self-service and $60 a month home ISP service. And honestly, if I could only pick between the two, it would not even be a matter of question. I would have to go with the cell service. It's a matter of safety.
I think it also doesn't contemplate the people that are looking at not wanting to upgrade their computers because they no longer have a bigger use for them. So if the phone does the deal that they want, it becomes like a natural decision. Okay, my PC is old. Maybe I'm not going to upgrade that. I just bought a $600 phone.
Well, and the question is, and I think maybe the assumption in this conversation is that that's a bad thing. And maybe the question should be, is that a bad thing? Are these maybe better devices for getting online than the traditional computer? They're perhaps easier, lower barrier of entry, that makes it more accessible to them. They don't have to have a $1,000 computer that has a spinning hard drive that can die on them. They have something that always has internet connectivity, so they don't have to worry about a separate bill on top. I mean, it's actually, in some ways, is perhaps a much more logical way to get online. And because it's just not the way we did it, doesn't mean it's not the right way. Maybe it's actually a more sensible way to get online. And remember those old commercials? It was Jeff Goldblum, whatever his name is. He's buy an iMac, and you buy an iMac, and you get online in 3 steps. You unbox it, you plug it in, and you get online. Well, with the smartphone, you unbox it and you're online. Right, and it's even easier.
We also have to contemplate what people are accessing. So, like, what is the information? If you're checking email and you're checking some news, the phone is perfectly fine. But if you're watching contents, like videos and things like that, maybe even that, like even YouTube plays well on the phone. Not that big.
Well, and with things like Chromecast, you can still get the big screen experience even if it's powered by your mobile.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the 15% is also going to include, and more likely the majority of that includes, people who would never have a computer in the first place and are just doing it from the phone.
Or probably a lot of kids end up with a phone now before they end up with a full-fledged computer. In a lot of cases, I would imagine that because they're going to school or they're going to after-school activities, and of course, mom or dad has had an iPhone or an Android device for a couple of years, and they hand it down. You go get the new Galaxy S6, and so you give your kid the Nexus 5, that kind of thing. So that's probably another contributor. And then, in fact, the report does say it's a lot of young adults. Something I know you guys are interested in, something we'll probably break down further on TechSnap in the future, but just to put it on your radar, the next phase of the TrueCrypt audit has been completed, and they've just posted. The TLDR is based on this audit. TrueCrypt appears to be a relatively well-designed piece of crypto software. The NCC audit found no evidence of deliberate backdoors or any severe design flaws that make the software insecure in most instances. That doesn't mean TrueCrypt is perfect. The auditors did find a few glitches and some incautious programming, leading to a couple of issues that could, in the right circumstances, cause TrueCrypt to give less assurance than we'd like. Wow. Mainly, it appears that the most significant issue is TrueCrypt related to the Windows version of TrueCrypt and the random number generator on Windows, which is responsible for generating the keys that encrypt TrueCrypt volumes. It's an important piece of code since a predictable RNG, randomly generated number, can spell disaster for security and everything else in the system. So perhaps maybe look for something else on Windows. Or don't use Windows if you're actually concerned about security. Not to be a biased jerk, but really, I honestly, if you're seriously considered about, if you're worried about, vulnerabilities in TrueCrypt being how people are going to compromise and get your data, then you are starting to worry about a different level of attacker. You're starting to worry about somebody who's maybe not a state level, but maybe starting to approach that range. And if you're starting to approach that range, you should probably be reevaluating using Windows to begin with if you're storing something that sensitive.
Pretty much.
All right. Yeah. Count Zero says, yeah, it's a given. All right. I was expecting a bit of an argument, but no, you guys, you agree. You agree. Actually, why don't we give a little plug to Microsoft since I just was a little hard on them. Microsoft says they'll adopt the open document standard following a government battle. Microsoft has confirmed, that it will start supporting the open document format, in the next update to Office 365, following a lengthy battle with the UK government. How about that?
It's not a surprise to me. It's not a surprise to me at all.
No.
So there's 28 countries in the European Union alone that have signed to the ODF format. And one of the reasons that they've been moving to Linux as well is because they are finding compatibilities with the Microsoft tools because Microsoft does not support it. So it's becoming the reverse. You try to open a document in Office and it doesn't work.
If you watch Microsoft long enough, they eventually will do things like this to stay competitive. They're not above doing things like this to stay competitive.
ODT does work in Office because I have to keep using it in school, but it's a lot of clicking. So it's this is broken.
Well, here's what I want to know. Here's what I want to know. If they bake it into Office 365 in the web version, which they should, right? Isn't this how this new Microsoft Cloud First thing works? It should go in, right? Cloud First, Microsoft Mobile First, Cloud First. So it should go in the online version, which would be the way you'd expect, because that's what people are paying for too. So of course, your paying customers would get these features. Would that not make Office 365 the first online, between Google and Microsoft at least that I can think of, the first online document editor that supports ODF online, because on Google Drive, you can upload ODF, but if you want to edit it, you have to convert it to a Google Doc. And then if you...
No, you already can. You already can, thanks to odf.js, and OnCloud is actually working.
No, I know that, but ODF. Google Docs itself natively does not support ODF. Like, it'll store ODF, and it will convert to and from ODF, but right, it can't natively edit ODF. But if Office 365 beats them to the punch, Microsoft will have online open document format editing before Google Docs does, if this happens.
No.
It won't be the first technology, but it will be the first service.
Microsoft's already beaten them there, because you can't, any file format you upload to Google Drive won't work instantly. You have to convert it.
Yeah, that's true, huh? That's so lame.
Yeah.
I hate that.
In the end of the day, it's going to be pretty much the same. Also, your web interface is not providing, it's not showing you an ODF document on the page. So regardless, it's always doing some processing.
I would like to be able to upload a text document or ODF and then edit them in an online editor and then bring them back down and edit them in a text editor. And I'm crazy.
You can do it, but there's actually a service that takes Linux desktop apps and turns it into web apps.
I just use OwnCloud for it. I mean, it's fine. It's just the OwnCloud collab editing isn't where Docs is. Anyways, that is my problem. One of the many things that I have problems with.
And also, the let's mention just here that LibreOffice actually is working on adding collaborative editing. So it's not something that they've been sleeping.
And they're also working on an online web version.
Yeah.
So
she's all together.
Yep.
Does this little report say anything about whether the support for the ODF or the whatever has to be good?
It's definitely ODF.
Does it have to be good?
It's the default one.
MS Alpha's 2007 started ODF support, but it's awful. And I think it's just so they could say they have it. And I think the web version would be like, well, yeah, you could technically do it. It's a horrible pain because the ODF format is evil.
Could be. That could be exactly how they do it. We will wait and see. We are so close. We are so close to 470 on the Tech Talk Today Patreon feed. And as we get close to Linux Fest Northwest, we definitely appreciate the support. Patreon.com/today. Earlier this week, I posted an extra extended version of the Linux Action Show pre-show that didn't make it in the outtakes or anything like that, and just exclusive to our patrons, and you get access to all the other stuff as well. Patreon.com/today is where you can go to help crowdfund the Jupiter Broadcasting Network, give us a little runway for future projects, and help us keep it a little weird. Help us do some of these things like Fest coverage as well. Patreon.com/today. Thank you, everybody. And did you know I created a meetup group for Jupiter Broadcasting? Meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Right now, I have the event in there for Linux Fest Northwest. I would like everybody to sign up, though, down the road when we hit the road, and we're in your area, we'll use this to meet up with people in that area. I think, though, I don't know. It depends. If this meetup group goes nowhere, then screw you guys. I won't do anything because this thing costs like $15 a month, and I'm going to shut it down. But if people start signing up and it starts getting nice here in the Seattle area, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking maybe a once-a-month meetup. Maybe we just do like a tech talk and I record it and we make it an episode, or we just hang out and eat and drink beer or root beer or whatever. But the Seattle area is freaking beautiful. There's lots of open source groups that are already meeting as it is. So I was just thinking, if this meetup group takes off, we'll just start doing more reoccurring stuff. And then when we travel, we'll already have an organizing spot, and we'll let people know we're in their area, and we'll organize there on Meetup. So it's meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. It costs me $15 a month. It doesn't cost you anything. You just sign up, and then if I do an event in your area, you get notified and crap like that. Or when we have events in our area, and for some wild reason, if you'd ever want to attend, you could keep an eye on what we're doing and decide if it was worth your attention. So it's meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. There's only one event in there right now for Linux Fest Northwest, but you can just join the group, and when we have future events, you'll get notified, or you can join Linux Fest Northwest. We've got 20 people going right now. It's nice if you are going to Linux Fest Northwest and you go sign up, because it's going to help us plan for swag and foods and stuff like that. So anyways, I'll put a link to that in the show notes, but I'd love to see you guys sign up and join us on future events. I'd love to meet some of you in person and hang out and maybe get some stuff on mic. It'd be really cool to get some segments out of that, too. Get some good conversations going. Not that the Mumble Room isn't appreciated. You guys show up every single day. I love you. I love you. You and me, we're life partners, Mumble Room.
We're in this weird.
Yeah, it did get a little weird, but I've been wanting to tell you that for 152 episodes, so now I finally got it off my chest. I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good. All right, well, we're going to wrap up today. If you'd like to be my life partner, join us over at jblive.tv, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. We have an open mumble room. All we have to do is check your mic. If you pass the test, then you can come in and give us your intelligent commentary on the news stories of the day or anything else you feel like. Also, techtalktoday.reddit.com. That makes this show better when I'm not here. And tomorrow, Ange will be joining me in studio. We'll be doing our Kickstarter of the week, so I would love some more Kickstarters. There is one in there right now, so you can go vote on that. Or maybe you can go submit some other ones. techtalktoday.reddit.com. You know, I think, I'm not 100% sure. There was a lot of ways we could have gone this morning with our end of show video. I think we have made a horrible, horrible mistake. I'm not positive, but I think it's possible I've never played a Sega Dreamcast commercial on this show. And everybody knows the Sega Dreamcast was the best console ever made. And so everybody knows the Sega Dreamcast deserves an end of show video. So everybody knows that Chris must right this wrong and play a Sega Dreamcast video. So I'll leave you with a great Dreamcast video. See you back here tomorrow, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Oh yeah, I'm feeling the love. You feel the love. But what's your name? Gary Payton, but they call me the glove. How you feeling tonight? Yo, I'm feeling the love. Feel the love. I'm feeling Sonic. Yo, Sonic. Man, stay off the light speed.
My bad.
Sonic Adventure on Sega Dreamcast.